Hello everyone. In this lesson I will show you how to use the name manager of Excel. Now, before we begin and before I explain what the name manager does, when to use it and why, let's see what sort of information we have here. Now, let's see the very first list that we have. In here we have an information about a person named Sam. So we have the years of his graduation, retirement, marriage, number of his children, his current age, and etc. Now, the goal of this lesson is to fill these two exactly the same lists. Now, let's see what sort of data do we have here and what we have to calculate. Now, we have here a so-called year modifier. Now, what is the year modifier? It shows the difference between current year and the year of interest. Now, here is the year of interest column that we have to fill. So, for instance, in this particular case, we have to calculate a year that was 41 years ago from current year. So, the formula is pretty simple. We take the current year, which is 2018, and then add the year modifier. And thus we will get the year of interest. Also, we have to calculate how old Sam was or will be in the year of interest, which is also a very simple formula, right? Now, why do we have two exactly the same lists and why do we have to fill them? Now, in the first list, we won't be using the name manager, and I will write simple formulas using simply the addresses of cells and simple subtractions, additions, and etc. In the second list, I will use the name manager in order to write the formulas, and at the end of this lesson I will show you the benefits of using the name manager when troubleshooting your formulas and overall let's say saving time when working in Excel. Now let us begin. Let's calculate the year of interest in the first list. For this, we type the formula equals, we take the current year and add the year modifier. Considering that the current year is the same for all of these instances, we simply fixate it like this, then copy this and use the paste special right here to copy only the formulas. Now, in order to calculate the age of Sam in the year of interest, there are several ways to do this, but let's do the long way. Now, first of all, we will take the year of interest and deduct the year of birth of Sam, of course. So, in order to calculate when the Sam was born, his year of birth, we will take the current year and subtract his current age. Thus, we will get the year of his birth, like here. It's in here. We will fixate this, considering that these two data are same for all instances, and then we will use the paste special to copy only the formulas. There we go. We have filled the first list. We have the necessary calculations. Now let's fill the second list by using the name manager. When we use the name manager, we create sort of pointers. Now, what is a pointer? Pointer is a programming term which, as the name suggests, points to certain data or certain cell that contains the needed data. Now, in order to create a pointer, there are several ways to do so, but let us begin with the easiest way, right? First of all, you stand on a cell on which you want to create a pointer, meaning that the created pointer will be pointing to this particular cell. Now, here we choose the C1, the current year. Then, the easiest way to create a pointer, albeit not the best way, but still the easiest and shortest way, is to choose a cell and then go to the name box, which usually, well, by default, contains the address of this particular cell. There we go, C1. And simply erase everything and type the name of this pointer or the name of this cell that you want to have. In this case, we will name it the current year. Now, a thing to keep in mind is that Excel does not recognize spacing between the words when naming a cell. So if the name of the cell, if the name of the pointer consists of several words and you want to separate these words from each other, always use the bottom line, since by default Excel always uses this. Well, you will see when I create the second pointer. What do I mean? Then we will, when we are done typing the name, we will simply push enter, and there we go. There is a pointer named current year, which points to C1. Or if you want to use another term, you can just simply say that cell C1 is named current year. But I personally prefer to call them pointers. Now, what does a pointer do? Let me show you what we just did. So we will stand on an empty cell and type equals, and then we will type the name of this pointer or name of this cell, which is current year, right? So I type the one part of this pointer's name, and Excel automatically suggests it. In order for Excel to suggest a pointer, you don't need to, let's say, type from the beginning. Sorry about that. Now, in order to summon the pointer, you don't need to, as I was saying, you don't need to start typing from the beginning. What I mean is, you could simply type any part of this pointer and Excel will automatically suggest it. For instance, as you know, the name of the pointer is current year. So if I were to type simply year, it would still suggest it. Now let's choose this, press enter, and as you can see, Excel, when it saw that this pointer was summoned, automatically saw that this pointer referred to cell C1, and it automatically displayed the data stored in this particular cell. Now, there is another way, well, a better, more detailed way, albeit a little bit longer than the ones that I just showed you, but still, I would advise you to use this method. So you still choose, even though this is not particularly necessary, but still it is always better if you have already chosen a cell or array of cells that you want to create a pointer to. So let's create a pointer to year of retirement, right? In order to do so, we choose the cell, then we go to the Formulas tab of Excel, go to the Define Names in here, and we press Define Name. When you push it, a form comes out, a form for creating a name for a cell, or as I was calling them, pointers. So as you can see, it automatically suggested the name. Excel automatically suggests a name for the pointer depending on the neighboring cell. For instance, here it shows that in the neighboring cell B2 there was a text, year of retirement, and it automatically suggested that this might be the name that you want to give to the pointer that refers to this particular cell. And as you can see, it already did the job for us by replacing spaces with bottom lines. Now, let's see what other parts does this form have. After the name, there is the scope. Now, what is the scope? It shows where we will be able to use this pointer. By default, it is set to workbook, which means that no matter in which sheet of this workbook you go, be it the current word, cells, or list, or it doesn't matter which one, even if you create a completely new sheet, this pointer will be usable, so you will be always able to summon it. But you have an option to make this particular pointer exclusive to to one of the already existing sheets. For instance, if I choose this, the only sheet of this workbook that I will be able to use this pointer will be these cells right here, which means that when I will go to another sheet of this workbook, I won't be able to summon the year of retirement. So when I will type a formula, for instance, equals, and start to type the name, for instance, year of retirement, Excel won't suggest it and won't recognize it as a pointer. Now, the next part is a comment. Well, comment, as you understand, is not an essential part of this form, but it allows you to create a comment either for yourself in the future or for another person that has to work with the workbooks that you create. You can type here a little description of this particular pointer. Even though in our case, the name already explains what sort of data is stored in the cells that this pointer refers to. But when you create pointers, let's say, to multiple cells, or when, let's say, a name manager is used to create a custom function, comment is always required in order to describe what sort of calculation it is making, or from where does it get its data. And the last part of this form is the actual address of the cell or array of cells that this pointer will refer to. In case of custom functions that I will show you how to create in next lessons, well, this is a place where the functions are usually written. Now, let's sum up what we did here. So, what we are going to do here. We are going to create a pointer named year of retirement, which will be exclusive to a sheet called cells right here. We will leave this empty. There is no need to type anything. It doesn't change really. It doesn't really change anything. And we know that this pointer will refer to C2 cell in a sheet named cells. This one. We'll press OK, and voila, we have another pointer named year of retirement. Let's just try it out. Year, yeah, and here it is. Now, the third way to create a pointer is to access the name manager itself, this little thing here. When you push it, it opens the list of all the pointers that you have already created and provides some data about them. For instance, there is a current year, which shows that this pointer refers to cell C1 in the sheet named cells, and the data stored in this particular cell is 1978. And the scope of this pointer is workbook. As you remember, we created this pointer with the shortest way, in the shortest way, by going inside the name box and typing its name there. So by default, it's when you do use this method of creating pointers, it's always set. Its scope is always set to workbook. And here is the year of retirement that we created that refers to C2, and the data in this cell is 2014, and this pointer is exclusive to sheet named cells. Now, this is a place where you can always access your already created pointers, edit them if you either have made a mistake or simply want to change them. You can simply double click it, this form will come out, and you can make any necessary changes. You can change their name, you can you can change to the address of the cells it refers to, and etc. Now, in here you can always also sorry about that. You can create new pointers. So you simply click new. It will open almost blank form. Well, considering that I was still standing on cell F3, it suggested that the new pointer will refer to this. So let's delete this, make this form completely blank. And here, let's create a pointer to the cells that we will be using, since considering that all of these other data are junk data, so to speak, are not needed. Let's create only to the cells that we will be using. So we need, as you remember, in this in here, oops, sorry, let's close this for a second. In here, we used two cells from this list. One was the current year, and the second was the current age of Sam. So we already created a pointer named current year. So what we need now is current age of Sam. So let's erase this. Let's name this pointer current age. There we go. Let's create limit this cell to only this particular sheet, and let's choose the correct cell. It's the last one here. Click OK, and there we go. Another pointer that points to cell C11, in which the value is 64 and the scope is cells. Let's close this, and now let's type the formulas. Let's calculate the year of interest and Sam's age in the year of interest by using this name manager. So in here, as you remember, the formula is simple. You take the current year, this one, and add the year modifier, like this. Then we simply copy it and paste special only the formulas. And in here, as you remember, the formula is simple. We take the year of interest and subtract from it the year of birth, which is calculated by taking the current year and subtracting current age from it. There we go. Let's copy this and paste special only formulas. There we go. Now, as you can see, both lists show the same results, right? But here's the thing, if you are paying attention to which cells I was choosing, you might have noticed that instead of the actual current year, which is C4, I chose C1. Even though in our case, of course, this mistake was intentional to show you the benefit of using the name manager, but in reality, it is possible that you will make such, well, human errors, so to speak. Especially when you are dealing not just dealing with not this little list, but rather than huge data matrix that might not even fit to one, let's say, one little screen. So let's make the changes, right? Let's fix our formulas, considering that this data is wrong. Since 41 years ago, considering that current year is 2018, the year of interest isn't 1937. So, how to fix our formulas, right? The simple way, well, the traditional way, so to speak, would be to go inside the formula to either manually change here, right? Change 1 to 4, like this, and press enter. Or you could open the formula and use simply drag this cell and Excel will automatically change it. But here is the problem. Right now, this is a very simple formula, right? Just two elements and only one operation. So going inside and making these manual changes isn't a problem. But when your formula is several lines long, and when you create the automatic workbook that makes either financial calculations or works with huge data statistics and etc., your formula might be this long, and searching inside this whole mess is well, first of all, almost impossible, considering one simple fact, right? One and the same cell can be used multiple times. For instance, inside the formula, you might use the cell current year multiple times. And you might understand that only one instance of this usage is wrong. So searching for the part of the formula that is wrong, then manually erasing something or adding, well, as you understand, the chance of messing something even more is very high. Well, some of you might suggest that using the find and replace function of Microsoft Office is a good idea, right? So in order to use this, you have to go to the Home tab, the Main tab, and here we have the replace function. So how does it work? Well, like in any Microsoft Office app, this finds certain text inside the text string and replaces it with one you want. So by choosing an array of cells in which I want to make a change, then I access the find and replace. Then in here we have to tell it what to find, right? So we know that it needs to find C1, oops, like this, and we want it to replace it by C4, like this. So we click here, replace all. It makes all the necessary replacements, and as you can see, everything is correct now. And you might think that, well, this works, so why not use it always? Well, here is the thing. Excel, when using the find and replace function, doesn't recognize the formula, which means that for it, this little, our little formula is nothing more than a text string. Some text that has simply different symbols, right? It has plus, it has symbol for equals, dollar signs, some letters, and etc. So when it searches through this, it does not separate objects. Now, to make it more clear, let's use this in here, right? In the column of Sam's age in the year of interest. So the problem in this formula is the same, right? Instead of current age, current year, which is located in C4, in here we have mistakenly C1, which is his year of graduation. So we have to replace C1, this, with C4. So we have this chosen. We access the find and replace function. There we go. As you can see, it will search for C1 and replace it with C4. We click replace all, and there is a big problem, right? You can all see it. Now, what is the problem? As I told you right now, Excel sees the data inside the cell as a text string. So it started from the beginning, right? And in here, where if there was a C1, it found these four symbols and replaced it with, well, what I told it to replace to. So replace the C1, fixated C1 with fixated C4. But it didn't stop here, of course. It went until the end of this text string. So in here, where there was C11, it also continued and found that the first part, well, one part of the C11 contained C1 too, right here, and replaced it again. So instead of getting the formula, which would be correct, C4 minus C11, we got C4 minus C41, which is of course wrong. So when using find and replace function, there is a chance that you will mess up a formula, and the problems that you were trying to fix, right, this wrong cell, won't be as bad as problems that you might create by using this find and replace function. And I want to remind you that this formula is very simple, right? 3 elements, just 2 operations, and nothing more. So if you mess up, you can just simply open it up and look at it, and you already know where you messed up. But here is the problem. Here is the other thing. When you create large formulas, when you have automatic workbooks, going inside manually and searching for the problem should be the last things you ever do. So you have to always plan ahead. You have to always standardize, create a special design for your workbook, create a structure, and etc. So if the problem arises in your calculations, going inside the formula and manually searching for this should be the last resort only. So uh, let's revert this find and replace operation. Let's do this manually, considering that we don't have any other choice, like this. To press enter, and then I will simply copy this down to every instance, every row required. There we go. So we have fixed this problem of the current year in the first list. Let's go into the second list, right? And here we also have the problem. But like the first list, the problem solving is first of all takes less time, second of all is much easier, and third of all requires less brain power. Well, technically, the fact that it's easier already means that it requires less brain power, but oh well. So in here we are using the pointer named current year, and we know that this pointer refers to the wrong cell, right? It refers to C1 when it should refer to C4. In the case of using the pointers, you don't have to go inside the formula and manually change something and thus risk messing something up. You can simply go to the formula step, access the name manager, and go into the edit menu of the pointer that you need to fix. There we go, current year. We will double click it, and we know that it's referring to the wrong cell, C1, when it should refer to C4. So I will delete this. We will choose the correct cell, which is C4, then press OK, then we will close this, and we are done. We have made all the necessary changes, the changes that took us, well, let's say 15 seconds, right? In here, it took us about 4 seconds to make the necessary changes in here. Now, as you can see, number one, we saved a lot of time by using the name manager, right? Because in here, when we had to let's say make this change of cells from C1 to C4, we changed only in one instance. We didn't have to change in one formula and copy it down to all the instances. We didn't have to go inside the formula and manually try to fix this problem. The chance in this case of messing something up is, well, non-existent really. So by using the name manager, you save a lot of time, not only in the terms of actually fixing the problem, but you also save time with the fact that you don't, after fixing something with name manager, you don't have to recheck everything for any mistakes that might have incurred with your involvement. Well, for instance, every time I changed something in here, right, every time I used find and replace function, or every time I went inside, I had to again look at this formula very well carefully, right, to see if something was messed up. And here I know that the only problem here was with the pointer current year, so I made only one change in here, and thus I saved a lot of time. I saved a lot of nerves since I didn't have to think a lot, and overall I made working in Excel pretty easy. So this was the first part of the name manager. In the next part of these lessons, I will show you, number one, how to create pointers to an array of cells and then how to access them. Second, how to create, well, the last part will be the most interesting part, I think, it's how to create custom functions by using the name manager. So, well, this is it. Goodbye and see you in the next lesson.